Okay, so Mr. Ops here, and today we're going to talk about bearings. And so, in order to do bearings, you have to remember about north, south, east, and west. Okay, and so north, south, east, and west here, this is, as hopefully you recall, generally speaking, we call this north, and then east, and south, and west. Okay, and so when we do bearings, we always are referring to north. And so if I'm going to go, let's say, a bearing of 31 degrees, well, from north, I go over this, I would go in this direction, where that is 31 degrees. If I went and said, oh, I'm going to go at a bearing of 100 degrees, well, recall, that's 90. So always from north, I'm going to go from north somewhere down here. And so this total blue angle is 100. But you should recognize that that is 10 degrees here. Just 10 because of 90 plus 10. If I did an angle that was something like 200 degrees, well, again, I start from north, I go all the way around 90, 180, a little bit further, and so that would be 200 degrees. And recognize that this is 20, 180 and that, and 20 more gives you this. Also note that this will be 70 because together it's 90. And so there's lots of angles you can get from a bearing. I'll try one more here. If I did, let's say, if I did an angle of a bearing of 320 degrees. Well, I start from north, I go around 320, somewhere here. So this is 320. Well, I know this is 40 degrees here, and this here will be 50, because I can go 360 minus the 320 gives you 40. Or I could go 270, 320 minus the 270 to give me 50 here. Here is 270 is west. But the key is to always go from north and around the compass rose. Okay, let's try a problem. So I see an airplane flew. Here's my aircraft flew. It starts here, it goes 10 kilometers south. Here's 10 kilometers south, and then 6 kilometers west. Here's 6. What is its bearing from its starting position? And it's really important that you recognize where you're starting from. So from the starting position means I'm starting here. I'm starting at my starting position. From here, what is this bearing? It wants to know what is the bearing. So the bearing goes from north, right? Put a little compass rose on there. And I want to look at the angle that goes all the way around to here. In order to do that, I need to get this little angle first. And I'll call that angle theta. To get theta, well, I know this is 10 and this is 6. This is a right angle because it's south and west. So theta will be the opposite value over the adjacent, which is tangent. The tangent of theta is equal to the opposite divided by the adjacent. And so theta, using my calculator, will be, I go second tangent, 6 divide 10. I have 30.96. If I round that, I get 31.0. So 31.0 degrees, the three significant figures. That's theta. If I want to know the bearing, though, the bearing is from north. It's over here. I have to add this angle, which is 180. So it's going to be 180 plus 31. Okay, so it's the 180 plus the 31 will give me 211 degrees is my bearing. Okay, so you have to make sure you add in from north as appropriate. We'll try another example here. Pattaya is on a bearing of 154 degrees from Bangkok. Find Bangkok's bearing from Pattaya. Okay, so Pattaya is from Bangkok. It's always important that you read this, from Bangkok. So I'm from Bangkok. Pattaya is this way here. This is the direction here, and this is 154. And you can recognize this as north, south, east, west. I have a north there for you. Okay, and so I know this is 90. So if I want to find this angle, I'm just go 154 minus my 90. I know that this little angle here is 64 degrees. The question's though asking me, from Pattaya, what is this bearing in this direction? Okay, so one of the things that I can do is I know from parallel line that this angle here is also 64 degrees because of my alternate interior angles. If these are parallel, these values are the same. So this is 64, so I know if I go in this direction to here is 270 plus 64 more, it'll tell me my bearing. So if I go 270 plus 64 more, gives me 334. 334 is Bangkok's bearing from Pattaya. So that's one way to do it. Another way I could do it is if I consider another parallel line theory that once upon a time you would have learned, is that if these are parallel, then these two angles here must add up to 180 degrees. So if I go 180 minus the 154, I get 26. So this angle here is 26. And so I could also go 360 minus 26. So 360 minus 26 is also going to be 334 degrees. So there's several ways to do it using our different parallel line ideas. And all the north directions is going to be lots of parallel lines and bearings and using these little theorems.